Okay, I've kind of stuck my phone in the middle of the dash here so I can drive, and hopefully you can hear the sound. But what happens is I'm going to do a transmission flush today. Not flush, a change, just a pan change, and I'm going to use some liquid intelligence as well. So and I'll show you that after I've stopped the car and putting it in the car. But what's happening is, and it's been doing it for a while now, when just driving normally in D, and the transmission warms up, what happens is that every time I want to come to a stop, the transmission's not downshifting, so it's trying to come to a stop in drive and the car stalls. So I wanted to try and get you to listen to that. Obviously you can't hear it and can't feel it, but perhaps you could hear it when I slow down to the point where the car stalls, and that's what I'm hoping that a liquid intelligence is going to fix for me today. So after doing a flush, after doing a transmission change, I've done a transmission change a few times, and it never fixes this problem. So after doing the change today, without the liquid intelligence being a part of the change today, this problem wouldn't go away. I know that from the last 3 changes, that even though after doing a change, the problem doesn't go away, it's still there. So it'll be a real test for this liquid intelligence stuff to see if it stops the gears sticking and, gets me out of trouble. So people are going to see my phone in the window there and going to be thinking, what the frickin' hell's he doing? But anyway, shit happens, eh? I'm not going to do it straight away. At the moment I'm driving in second because I don't want to stall right here. And I'm not going to be bothered about blurring number plates either. Like, that's publicly seen. Why should I be bothered about blurring that? I see other people blur people's plates out. I'm like, well, it's public knowledge, isn't it? You see them driving around, you can see people's number plates. Why should I be bothered blurring them out? One thing I wish people would learn to do is drive at roundabouts. They wait for the gap of a truck before they go. I'm going to put it in drive now. And you'll probably hear it when I try to accelerate. Hear that vibration happen because it's not downshifting when I accelerate. If I give enough acceleration, it will downshift, but if I'm just trying to drive normal, hear that? Right now I shouldn't be driving in top gear in overdrive. Cruising on the 50 here. Now let's do a little bit of experiment. If I pull over to the side of the road here and I don't downshift the gears myself, she actually downshifted them, but you heard all the shaking and rattling and everything. A lot of time when she does that, it's she stalls. I was just lucky that time it didn't stall. I'll do it again in a second when I come to turn into the driveway. put the foot down, she's responsive. She'll kick down then and change. I've had this car for 19 years. She's done exactly 450,301 Ks. I've never had an engine problem. Driving the good old AU Falcon. I'll never sell her. She'll have to be ridden off before I get rid of her. She's just too reliable. I'm actually going to a place to do the transmission change, not my place. There's a good buddy of mine. I don't really have the room at my place. It's a long intro to a video, but just want to show you in real time what it's like. Oh, nearly there. Pretty much after the 10 minutes of warming up is when I have problems with the transmission. While it's cold, runs perfect. Hey, stalled, see? So that's pretty much what happens when she warms up. So I can't lend my car to me family member or someone like that, because I tell them when driving around town, just drive in second gear. The Falcon is plenty strong enough, and the revs hardly go up about 1500 in second gear around town doing 50 Ks. So just drive around second gear. But family members, they want to put it in drive and they complain the car keeps stalling, and I'm like, I can listen to me. So hopefully today, after doing the change and adding the liquid intelligence, the gearbox problem gets solved, and I really hope so, because all the other products work really great. So I'm going to stop this now and start recording when I start doing the Alright, so I'm doing things a little bit different to normal. I'm going to drop the pan like you normally would, but instead of filling the transmission through the gearbox by taking the bung out and putting the fluid in, I've done the transmission a few times to know that it's always exactly 4 litres that goes back in. And the last time I did the change on this, I wanted to get the bung back out and I couldn't, and I was like, well, that stuff's me, I'm not going to muck around with that. So instead of getting back to that right now, to that bung to try and take it out and put fluid back in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump it back in through the front. But I need to know which line is the pump pumping out of, so I know which line that the fluid's going to pump it back into. And so I shouldn't have a problem with my fan or with my fluid being hot, because I do have a fluid cooler and a fan bolted to the front there, and that's also got an inch gap here, so there's plenty air going through that cooler. I shouldn't be having a heat problem with my transmission, but I do. Like I explained on the way here, the gearbox does what it does once the fluid has heated up, and I've done what I can to try and keep the fluid cool. So the problem must be somewhere else, and this is the liquid intelligence that's going to go into it, and hopefully that solves my problem. But right now, I'll crank the car over quickly, and we'll just find out which line the fluid's coming out of. Smart idea to have the keys in the ignition.
Found.
Okay, so the fluid's coming out of this one. It's not a very nice looking colour either, it's really brown. One day I'll do a proper flush on this, but for now, it's just a standard pan drop. So this is the line that I'm going to have to pump fluid back into. Another problem I've come with, I did put fluid in once before. I used a treatment that I got from Super Cheap, and I tried to push it into the line, and every time I tried to push the syringe in through the line here, it was like there's just too much pressure. So I'm wondering, could I have a blockage in the line? And we'll find out when I get this pump on. I'll connect this pump here up, and that's what I'm going to be using to pump the fluid back in with, exactly 4 litres. And we'll find out how the pump deals with that, with pumping it in, because it should be really quick. I've done a flush using that pump on another car of mine, and it pumped out as quick as it was coming out while I had the engine running. I was pumping fluid in, I was pumping fluid out, and I did exact 10 litres out, 10 litres in sort of thing. Got the same measurements, and that worked out really well with that job I did. So what I'm going to do now is drop the pan, let the oil out, put the new gasket, the new filter on, and then we'll come back to this. Okay, so getting under the car here, I'm sure you have all been here before. The idea is I'm going to remove the back bolts and then loosen off the 2 side, and then when I undo the front ones, so I'm going to undo these about halfway. These ones are out, these ones about halfway, and then when I loosen these ones off, it's going to start tilting, and then I'll catch all the fluid that comes out. And okay, so I'll get into this. I just had a phone call interrupt what I was just recording then, so trying to catch up with what I was just talking about. Anyway, so I'll get into this. I'll take the pan out, start dropping it down. Once it gets to a point where the fluid's running low, then I know I can undo these a little bit more, let it tilt just a little bit more until I can't get any more out, and then I'll remove these bolts, take the pan away. So I'm sure that if you're watching this, you've probably watched other clips and seen other people do this as well, but anyhow, I'll just include it. Okay, so you can see what I've meant here. The pan's just tilted back like that. The front bolts are still in, but they're loose enough to let the pan drop enough to drain the oil. So now I'm going to push it up, take the front bolts out, and just kind of hold it square as I take it out of the car and clean her out. Okay, so you can see there. There's no chunks or nothing in there, that's all good. Not too bad. And the magnet over here. Standard filings that collect to it. Nothing chunky. I'll clean all this up and we'll change that filter. Okay, so now time to take the filter out, and you can do it by hand. So basically you can see in there, get the pliers on there. Anyway, where that is there, you can see the clip in there. It's just slipped over, it's nothing overly fantastic. And that's just off like that. And this just comes off like so, and let's just make a mess of the joint. And a bit of transmission fluid everywhere. Alright, I'm making a mess of the shop, but anyway, I'll get this filter out and we'll have a look on the outside. Okay, I just want to show you the two. This is the one that came out, obviously, and just remember to take this out. This stays stuck in the car when you first take it out. The seal here, and you can tell this one's still fairly fresh and good. Still got a bit of softness to it. And this is the new one I'm putting in now. Funny thing is, when I went to buy this online, the AU ones I couldn't find for less than $25, and the BA Falcon ones for $16. No difference between them. I knew that before when I was buying it. I was like, why the price difference? They're the same filter. Anyway, I'll go put this filter in, and I'll show you once it's put back in. Okay, so that's the new one in. Now, with that seal at the front there, do make sure you get the old one out before putting this in.
I have worked on a Falcon gearbox before where someone hasn't done that and they put the new one in and there was 2 seals there and the front doesn't sit right. I think the filter was still doing its job, but it just wasn't sitting right. So make sure you remove that old seal before installing a new one so you don't have 2 of them sitting in there. Alright, so this is all done now. I'll put the gasket on the sump. I'll just wipe off the excess oil around the excess fluid around the sides there, and I'll put the gasket on that sump and put it back up. And just to help hold that gasket in place, I've got the bolts all the way around, because when they're packed in the bag they're all scrunched up and they're not taking shape. But just using the bolts around there, that'll all pull in tight as I hold it up and get those bolts in. Okay, so end of the day, first drive with the fluid change, and we'll see how she goes. This won't be an end of video today, it'll be, this is the first drive, and once I have driven it for about a month, and I'll report back onto how she's been going, if the liquid intelligence has solved my problem or not. So far so good. So I'm not going to be able to really do much more, am I? Right now I'm going for a drive and the gears are changing fine, but it's cold. It's been about 4 months since I started recording the liquid intelligence adding to the gearbox, and yeah, I had almost given up. I was thinking it's just not going to do anything, but it was worth an effort. Just, you know, just when it takes so long, you kind of like think it's not going to happen. So I went ahead and ordered parts for the gearbox, because I still get an error code anyway for the pressure control valve. But lo and behold, typical story, you go and order the parts and then suddenly I have no more problems with the gearbox. So I'm no longer getting that idle problem when I slow down. You know, what I showed you before, the car shakes to death and then comes to a point of stalling. That no longer happens. The gearbox is running nice and smooth now. So the liquid intelligence has done its job and it has fixed it up. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that I've ordered the parts and I don't need the parts anymore. In saying that though, like I already said, I still have the error code for the oil pressure control valve. Plus I've got a new error now. I've got a knock sensor problem. You know, not related to the gearbox, obviously. So ordering the part, not a bad idea. Next time I do a transmission change, I might as well drop the valve body and change the pressure control valve at the same time. But the point is, the liquid intelligence has worked. It has changed the gearbox so it runs nice and smooth now. So yeah, that's a good thing. Get to a point where I have to stop, just to show you that it's not going to stall when I get to a when I come to an idle. That's pretty much, you know, it'll do. There you go. Came to a stop, no problems. The shaking and shuddering and stalling and everything's all gone. Gearbox is running nice and smooth despite having an error code. In saying that, I've used the diagnostics tool to erase codes, but I haven't disconnected the battery to erase codes, so it shouldn't matter either way, but it might. I might do that later.
see I'm not going into limp mode. That thumping you can hear is the lines on the bridge. Yeah, so going through the gears quite smooth now. I'm happy chappy. Thank you, Liquid Intelligence. It'll last me to my next oil change. Not only that though, the Liquid Intelligence also has a formula in it that regenerates seals and so forth, so it's not just to fix that shutter gear problem and so forth. It does a lot of other things too. I'd guide you to look at the website to check it out. I have a lot of faith in Liquid Intelligence products. I haven't had a product of theirs fail me yet, although I have had like this 4 months later before it showed any signs of working. So if you use Liquid Intelligence, you do have to give it its time to work, you know. Like if you've got an oil leak or something like that and you put the oil leak sealer in, it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen. Just give it time. So anyway, that's it. I'll chuck this online, and yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers guys.